Oh,
What's the reference? 423?
anything.
Would be they should be.
Welcome to another edition of the Issues of Life radio show. We have clowns in here already. High noon on
Definitely.
high noon on Wednesday. Thank you for joining us today. If you'd like to join in the conversation, 994-3747, 994-0823, or you can go to our website at truthradiofm.org. Fellas,
We sure are glad to be back on the air today. I was out of town last week and we had to improvise. I think you guys did a pretty good job improvising with me traveling and trying to get on all the technical difficulties we had. Come to find out that those difficulties were on my end there at the place that I was trying to
I'll leave that one alone.
get to the Wi-Fi.
I'll just leave it alone.
But hey, I thought I did pretty good by calling in, right? Coming down the road, down I-65, and was still able to hook up.
A radio host on the move. Radio
Yeah.
host on the move. Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Proverbs 4:23. Is that correct?
That's correct. We are sure glad to be with you today, and we've got a lot of good things in store for the program today. We can't, at least for now, we can't deal with the program without getting into politics somewhere along the line, but that's not going to be our principal thing. We're not going to start there. I would like to read you some quotes, though, from our founding fathers, just to show, mainly to show that the fact that they were, how this nation was founded. Benjamin Franklin said, "I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid?" I think that's a pretty good quote. I think it shows the dependence of our forefathers on God. You know, I think it's important that we really understand that, and that this is, or may I say it this way, this nation was founded as a Christian nation. It wasn't founded as a Muslim nation, nor Hindu, nor any other. And we could go on down the list. It was founded absolutely as a Christian nation, and I think we need to recognize that, and at least give it some credence in this pagan era that we live. And we do live in a pagan era. Some have called it the new paganism. And I'm of that opinion. I believe that God's been really just left out of society, kicked out wherever possible. You know, we think we can kick God out of society. That's kind of stupid to think that we can. But just to neglect and ignore Him, I believe is responsible for the situation that we have today. And getting around to the political side, I think I think we have a very difficult situation right now. I think we have an extremely difficult situation in the political arena. I think it's a sad state of affairs, and it really points to where the real problem lies. The real problem we face in our country today is not that of politics, but I think politics are an example or a demonstration of where the problem is. And here it is. The fact that we have a choice between a Mormon and whatever President Obama is. I can say this, and Paul got on to me last week for calling him a Muslim on the air. I don't know that he's the man's a Muslim. I don't know what his religious background. I know this: he claims to be a Christian, but he takes positions that are totally diametrically opposed to Bible Christianity. So something's wrong with that picture. That's where I come from. And he is obviously, blatantly, more than obvious, a Muslim sympathizer. And so I think the real issue is here, with the choice that we have between, just from a religious standpoint, not considering their politics, nor their conservatism or liberalism, but just from a religious standpoint, the choice between a Mormon and a Muslim, or whatever. And I state whatever. I don't know what he is. But the choice that we have shows that our Bible-believing people in the world, or those who profess to know Christ, those who profess to believe the Bible, don't have much influence anymore. There was a time where we had a considerable influence. That has diminished drastically, and that's where I'm at today. That's really where I'm coming from, and where I think we have a real problem. And the only answer to that problem, doesn't lie in politics. It lies with Christians and those of us who know Christ doing right and praying, fulfilling the Bible. 2 Chronicles 7:14 has been quoted numerous times. To pray, humble ourselves, pray, turn from our wicked ways, seek His face. I just don't see us doing much of that. I really don't. We do a lot of talk, but I don't see much of it.
Well, here's a question that I've been getting a lot lately at Walmart, at my mom's apartment complex. They're wanting to know, what exactly does a Mormon believe? You know, they're wanting to know that.
Well, I think it would take a long time, more than what we want to spend a day, to go into what Mormons actually believe. I know. Let me just say it this way: Mormonism is not Christianity. Mm-hmm. They claim, and there are some even in the area here. There are those who they put the name Christian out. They claim Christianity, but they don't have the same book we have. They have their own book. Mm-hmm. And no matter what, they always carry a Bible around. Most of them, when they come to your door, the Mormon religion, these clean-cut young men, white shirts, most of the time have ties, riding bicycles, and sacrificing. They pay a pretty good price for. They have to serve for 2 years. They do and they pay their own way. From what I understand, it's commendable. A lot of the things they do are very, very commendable. But they have a different book than what we have.
And most important, obviously, they don't reverence the King James Bible and hold it to be their, the standard for everything they believe as we do. But a Mormon doesn't believe Jesus is God. A Mormon doesn't believe that Jesus Christ is God in the flesh.
Exactly.
And if that is the case, then how could someone die for the sins of the world and take our sins away so we can go to heaven if we believe it? But that to me is the biggest thing when it comes to Mormonism. And I own a Book of Mormon. I've read the Book of Mormon. It's in my office, put up where nobody can get to it. But it's not the Bible, and they do not believe Jesus is God.
And that's a primary thing. We would differ with them. But there's some very, if you really delve into the inner workings of Mormonism, it's very strange. Mm-hmm. It's very mysterious, and
it's kind of a very esoterical, secretive ideology, and I mean,
they believe that one day we're going to inhabit the planets. That someday that male Mormons are going to be made gods. Mm-hmm. and inhabit other planets, and their idea of procreation. They will be able to resurrect as a god. They'll be able to resurrect whichever wife they want. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a pretty good system now. If you want to maintain control over your spouse, all you have to do. I told my wife, I think I'm going to go become a Mormon, and you better behave yourself, or I won't resurrect you in the afterworld.
But yeah, that is the main question that I get asked, majority of the time. And so I was just, wanting to throw it out to you guys.
Bring this back around to where we are today in the political arena. And I fear that. Here's what I say fear. I really have a concern that people will reject Romney because of his Mormonism. I wouldn't, if that were the only choices, if the only choices were based on their religion, I wouldn't vote for either one of them.
Right.
Because President Obama has proven himself to be against Christianity and Bible principles. Now, President Romney takes, at this point in time, or President-elect Romney takes...
we know.
He takes positions that have a biblical basis now, such as against abortion, against same-sex marriage. Let me just state again: we are against same-sex marriage. It is no way scriptural. It is against the Bible, and no matter who says or what they say or what position they take.
And the Bible,
anti-Bible.
And the Bible has dealt with this.
Exactly. Very plain.
Yes.
Without any controversy.
I as a father of two boys, father of two children, I am diametrically opposed to same-sex marriage, and I am diametrically opposed to any individual, as far as their philosophy goes, who espouse same-sex marriage and say it's okay. It's not okay. It's not biblical. The purpose of this show is keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. We keep our heart, we monitor our heart, we gauge it based on biblical principles, and same-sex marriage is unbiblical.
Well,
it's not what God ordained as marriage.
When we're faced with a situation like we have today, and people, no doubt, people are considering this. Everybody's considering, and everybody should consider the election and what's coming down the pike and where we are today. And we're in a position where we really can't vote on a religious basis. You know, that's really not even in the running, because I could not vote for either candidate based solely on religion. So we have to turn to other avenues. We have to consider their politics. Which one stands more biblically based? You know, again, against gay marriage, same-sex marriage, against abortion, for Israel, for conservative principles, for I would call it conservative capitalism in this country, against socialism. I mean, those are the issues that we have to look at today in regards to the upcoming election. And I have never, as I stated last week, I've never been more concerned about an election in my 61 years of existence. And, you know, when I was young, I went through periods where I didn't bother to vote, I didn't get involved, but I finally woke up. You know, I finally got to the place where I woke up in life to where that I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to make sure, to do my part, whatever little part that is, to ensure the preservation of this country that is my country. And I think that should be everybody.
Right.
Well, it's like Mr. Eastwood said. He's rather creative, and I don't condone everything that he said and did, by the way, in that speech. But I do condone some of his philosophy, because he said politicians work for us.
Exactly.
He said they work for us. They are civil servants, and he's not letting this go. In a newspaper article the other day, he referred to Obama as the greatest hoax ever pulled on the American people. Now, again, I have nothing. I've made this very clear. I have nothing personal against Barack Obama. And after the break, when we take our first break, I'm gonna get on a little soapbox. You know, Brother Dewey gets on his quote unquote soapbox on this show, but I'm gonna get on a little soapbox after the break. I have nothing personal against the man, but for the sake of our nation, we must espouse biblical principles. And what business does a Christian have? Someone who claims to be a Christian. What business do they have voting for a man who they know is not against same-sex marriage? What business does a person who calls himself a Christian, someone who knows the Bible, goes to church, what business do they have? Well, I like it. I like his views on this, and I like his views on this. I like this about him. I like that about him. So I'm going to vote for him as a Christian, even though I know that he's for same-sex marriage. I don't understand that.
I thought you were going to get on that soapbox after we got on.
That's just a little preview. That's just a little preview.
All right. We're going to take a short little break right now while he gathers his thoughts, and we'll be right back here on the Issues of Life radio show.